All right, in this lesson, we're going to start our unit on angles, and by talking about some of the relationships in angles that they have with each other, some of the different parts of angles, and so on. So an angle is formed by two rays, and if you remember from previous classes, a ray has an ending point and goes on indefinitely in any direction. Those rays are called sides, and the two common ending points are called the vertex. Okay, so it is a common ending point, a vertex, and goes on. The two sides go on indefinitely in a certain direction. So you can name an angle several different ways. You can name it by its vertex if it's only has one angle. Okay, so if it only has one angle, you can name it by associated with that vertex. You can name it by that. You can name it by its vertex and a point on each ray. This is the most common. Okay. All right. And in that case, the vertex has to be the middle, be the middle point. Okay. Or sometimes you can, if you have several different angles, they may have a small number that's associated with that with that with that vertex, or possibly even the number that tells you what degree measure that angle is. All right. So if you have an acute angle, it is less than 90 degrees. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees, and an obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees. All right. And then a straight angle is exactly 180 degrees. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. All right. So they add up to 90 degrees. And supplementary add up to 180 degrees. And the way that I keep that separate is that C, complementary, starts with a C, and C comes before an S in supplementary in the alphabet. Okay, so C comes before S, and 90 comes before 180 degrees in a number line. So that's just a little way that I keep complementary 90 degrees and supplementary 180 degrees. Okay, so it says use a diagram to name two acute angles. Acute angles, remember, are less than 90, okay? Less than 90 degrees. All right, so, well, we have three angles. We have one that's 43, one that's 47, one that's exactly 90. So the acute angles are the in this case, the 43, the angle is 43 degrees and the angle is 47 degrees. All right, so let's just name it. So the 43-degree angle, we start up here with T, come down to Q, and then come over to P. So that's T, Q, P. Or we could have said P, Q, T. We could have gone the other way. And the 47-degree is S, Q, R, or we can say R, Q, S. Okay? And with both of these angles, you can flip them or you can change the order around backwards as long as this Q, that's the vertex right here, has to be the middle letter. All right? Then when we talk about naming a right angle, well, remember, a right angle is exactly 90 degrees. We have one of those. Okay? That's this one right here. Okay? And when we name it, we can go either T, Q, S, or we could go S, Q, T. It's the same exact thing. But once again, Notice that the Q is the middle angle. All right. And then it says, use the diagram to name two obtuse angles. Two obtuse angles. So obtuse angles, remember, is greater than or more than 90. Okay? So what we're basically going to do is we're going to combine 90 and the 43 as one of them, and 90 and the 47 as the other one. So 90, okay, start up here, 90, come down to the Q, and then instead of going up to the T for the 90, we're just going to come over to the P for the adding the 43 to it. So that is SQP or PQS, all right? Or, and so that takes care of that 43-degree angle, or we could say R, Q, and then T. We could say R, Q, T, or TQR. And once again, you notice that the Q is this vertex right here. That's the vertex for all the angles. It's a common vertex. All right. Name a pair of complementary angles. Complementary angles, remember, complementary C adds up to 90. All right. So two angles, okay, obviously this here is already 90, can't add up to itself. Okay, so we're going to add 43 and 47. If we add those, we end up that those two angles are complementary because they add up to 90 degrees. So that would be PQT and SQR. Okay, and you notice that I identified them differently than what I had identified them from the previous page. Okay, but that's you can do that. Then it says name the two pairs of supplementary. Supplementary means that they add up to 180 degrees. All right, supplementary. So to get rid of this, get rid of all this. Okay, so that means that if we remember 180 degrees, if we know this, and if you remember from the notes you took, is a straight line. Okay, so we want to find two angles that add up to a straight line. Well, we can say this and this. So we can say PQS, and then we can say, well, we can just say, we could say SQR. Okay, so that would be and SQR. That's one, because if we look at it, we started off here and we ended up over here. So that is a straight line. All right. The other one would be just going backwards. All right. So we could say RQT, and then what's left? Well, what's left is the TQP. All right. Okay, and there again, we started off here and we ended up over here. That's a straight line. Okay, you could have said RQ, you could have said RQS and SQP, but we already got that on the very first one. All right, so if the measure of angle 1 is 37 degrees, 37 degrees for that one. What is the measure of angle 2? Well, we don't know, other than the fact that that's a straight line. Those two angles, this angle and this angle, combined together is a straight line, so we just say 180 minus 37, which borrow from the 8, make that a 10, so that's 143 degrees. All right, here's some more notes. Copy these notes into your notebook as well. Adjacent angles are two angles that are side by side. They touch each other on one side, but they don't overlap each other. All right, so we notice that angle 1 and angle 2 over here are side by side. All right, so they touch each other, but they don't overlap. 2 and 3 are side by side, or adjacent angles 3 and 4, and 1 and 4. Okay, so those are all adjacent angles. Congruent angles just have the same measurements. All right, and vertical angles then, when we're talking about vertical angles are angles that are just across from each other. They're not adjacent, so they're not side by side. They're just simply across from each other. So in this case, 1 and 3 are across from each other, right? So that would be 1 and 3. And then we also can say that 2 and 4 are across from each other, okay? Now, one of the things to remember or to notice is that all of these are angles that are formed by straight lines, okay? All of these are angles that are formed by straight line. We have this line that comes all the way up through here, okay? And then we have this line that goes all the way through here, and they overlap each other. They cross each other, okay? So if we happen to have another angle that just sort of, say, shoots out through here, let me use a different color for that. If we have another angle that shoots out through here, all right, that we just ignore that because it ends right here. It doesn't go out through here at all. Okay, so it cannot. That would not be part of an adjacent or of a vertical angle. The vertical angles are only the angles that are formed by two intersecting lines. Okay, so this is a case like that I just talked about. In other words, if we're talking about vertical angles, we're not going to talk about that one. If we're talking about vertical angles, now that is going to be used in some other questions. Okay, but it says a traffic engineer designed a section of roadway where the three streets intersect. Based on the diagram, what is the measure of CBD? C, okay, let me get a different color. C to B to D. Okay, so if we look at that, we're looking at this angle right here. Okay, the only other angle measure we have a 90-degree angle here, the red square. Okay, that's 90 degrees. But then we have here, we have 26 degrees, and that is a vertical angle because you notice this right here can keep on going through there. This right here keeps on going through that way. So there are two intersecting lines. So that means that those are two vertical angles. So it's 26 degrees. It says, what's the measure of DBE? Okay, so DBE then, when we talk about D to B to E, that's this one, what's left. So we already know that this is 26. We figured that out. We know the entire length is, from here to here is 90 because of the little right angle thing, okay, in the corner there. So we're going to just say 90 minus 26 is, oops, that's an 8. For 64 degrees. 64 degrees. All right. That is it for this lesson. Okay. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them. Okay. And we will talk to y'all later on. Make sure you've taken your notes.